It's worth reminding ourselves that the things we often take for granted, peace, freedom and democracy, have not always been guaranteed. And as unfortunate and reluctant as it may have been, brave men and women have answered the call and chosen to put themselves in harm's way to ensure the things we hold sacred are protected. And therefore, this is the reason we set aside one Sunday every year to commemorate those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. It should be mentioned that Remembrance Day is not a political statement, nor is it to do with supporting war or conflict. It is simply a day to remember those who gave their all.
I don't know where I went, right, but I didn't come off at Stansted.
Now, I was invited by former colleagues to join them at the Cenotaph in London, and I'd done so in years previously. However, the extortionate price of train fares and the equally ridiculous price of drinks in London post-parade, well, it makes for an expensive day. But it's also the heightened security, the metal detectors, the police marksmen in every tall building. I've got to be honest, for someone like me who's hyper-vigilant, it doesn't do anything to make me feel comfortable. So for the last few years, I've been attending my local ceremony. So it was my pal Steve who happened to mention that Duxford Imperial War Museum was hosting a memorial service that his fellow Lotus enthusiasts had attended in previous years. So being fortunate enough to be off work, we agreed to attend together. He in his Lotus Evora, and I on my Dinah.
The mountains hide my hindsight, and all I see is you. The future out before me is coming into view. The heartache that brought me here, hurt that held the fear and tied me to a stone.
Now, if you watch some of my previous videos, you'll have seen me ride past Duxford several times. But for those who don't know, Duxford Imperial War Museum is located in Cambridgeshire, adjacent to the M11 motorway.
We know, we don't have to speak.
It served as a Royal Air Force airfield and was actually the airfield Douglas Bader flew from during the Battle of Britain. In the latter half of World War II, it became a United States Army Air Force base where P-47 Thunderbolt fighter aircraft flew from. Now, in the 1970s, Duxford began to house historic aircraft, and in 1977 it became an Imperial War Museum. Now, today's visit was obviously not to tour the museum. However, if you do have the chance to visit, I strongly urge you to. I've been several times, and I've also been a spectator at one of their many organised air shows.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not worry them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. We will remember them.
Being situated in Cambridgeshire, Duxford is closely associated with the Royal Anglian Regiment. While it is always sad to see the names of the fallen inscribed on the walls of the memorial, it's both heartwarming and touching to see many former and serving members of the regiment gathering to remember their mates. So after a solemn service and an impeccably observed 2-minute silence, wreaths were laid. Then everyone was invited to attend the Land Warfare Exhibition Hall for complimentary tea and coffee. The museum really did make everyone feel welcome, and I would also like to thank them for kindly allowing free access for all veterans. Steve and I spent some time exploring the Land Warfare exhibition before we headed back along the apron, pausing to watch a World War II Blenheim Bomber gracefully climb skywards, then complete a circuit before finally completing a poppy drop over the airfield. A beautiful, touching final act of remembrance to conclude a memorable morning. So after Steve said goodbye to his fellow Lotus owners, we headed south on the M11 towards Essex. As we passed Stansted Airport, Steve turned off towards his village, while I rode the remaining 20 miles or so. And as I often do towards the end of a ride, my thoughts began to wander. However, on this occasion they were a mix of sadness and gratitude. Sadness certainly for the many who have laid down their lives in the service of our nation, but also gratitude that these brave men and women are prepared to do so. And being Remembrance Day, I tend to remember those I served with, and especially those who are no longer with us. But in particular, I want to draw attention to those who still carry the scars of service, both physical and mental. And for many, the battles are never over. And to illustrate a painful and tragic fact, I recently watched the singer and former army officer James Blunt biographical documentary. While speaking about his service in Kosovo, a photo of him with some of his troop was shown, and it devastates me to say that out of the 7 soldiers that James is posing with, 2 have tragically taken their own lives. 2 blokes who I knew, yet neither give any indication of how they were suffering. So please guys, don't suffer in silence. Help is available. And yes, it is a big step to ask for help, and it does require a lot of bottle to pick up the phone and make that first call. But please do it. And remember, it's okay not to be okay. So friends, thank you for joining me on this poignant ride. And I'll leave you with the words that are inscribed on the Kahima Memorial. When you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow, we gave our today.